Hi everyone, my name is Tracy and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the video. I hope you enjoy it. So today I feel like I'm gonna be talking about a rather controversial subject. I was kind of mulling in my brain whether or not I should be filming this video or not, but we'll see if I end up posting this or not. But I wanted my channel to be sort of an outlet for myself to pour all of my thoughts and emotions into, kind of just to scream into the void, as I always say in my videos. And, hopefully I can reach the type of audience that might feel the same way as me, or think similar things, or have similar values as I do in life. So I feel like I didn't want to not film this because I've been thinking about this for so long, and I don't know, I feel like this was the reason why I created this YouTube channel in the first place. I just wanted to have a place where I can be myself and voice all of these thoughts and opinions that I have, instead of just letting it fester away inside of me and rot away in my brain or take up space in my brain. I feel like this YouTube channel has been sort of a therapeutic outlet for me to just scream all of this out into the internet, into the void, and hopefully reach the right people who feel the same way. But also, if I don't reach people who feel the same way, then at least I'm still just getting it out of my chest. But anyways, enough with the rambling, because if you've watched me for a while now, you would know that I am a huge rambler, so I'm going to try to stop that. But the topic that I wanted to go into in today's video is modern day feminism. So, well, I guess this is also kind of a broader video essay on just our modern day and age in general, even just feminism aside. This is kind of like a video critique of the current state of society and just the current state of reality from my own subjective opinion and experiences in the modern age. So I guess to provide some context, I live in America. I live in Massachusetts. We are generally a very blue democratic state. For those of you who are not from the United States, I guess this might not pertain to you and your politics or your life views, but for those of you who do live in America, I feel like our country is constantly so divided between Republicans and Democrats, and sort of conservatism views and morals and values versus the more liberal democratic views and morals and values. And there's a small few number of us that fall in the middle, where we are independent from these two parties. And I don't want to make my channel about politics. I just feel like there's already enough negativity out there as it is. There's already enough hatred in the world, and bitterness and resentment on both sides, on both factions, on whatever spectrum you fall into. I feel like people are always going to find what you say to be controversial. They're always going to find what you think or say to be wrong. So I don't ever want to create my channel in a way that attracts that type of negative energy. I want to put out positive energy into the world. But I feel like I've had these thoughts in my head for so long at this point that I just want to get them out there. And if I get hate on this video, then there's nothing I can do about it. But I'm hoping that people who might feel the same way as I do, who end up stumbling upon this video, can relate to what I'm saying and maybe feel less alone. And I don't think anything that I'm saying is really that bad or controversial. If anything, I think it really aligns with the overall messaging of my channel and sort of aligns with the type of content that I tend to create anyways. But anyways, enough of the rambling, but I kind of just wanted to provide the background context of, you know, the politics of my current environment and where I'm from, where I grew up in, where I live currently. So for me, if you're wondering where I stand on the political spectrum, I do stand on the more liberal democratic side. I mean, I don't think that's very surprising considering I am a first generation, technically a woman of color. I know I'm very pale, but I am Asian, I'm Vietnamese. My whole family are immigrants. It's only just my brother and I that were born here in Massachusetts, but even like my oldest brother and like everyone else in my family are all from Vietnam and they immigrated here to America. So yeah, I do tend to fall on the more democratic spectrum of politics here in the States. However, I do have certain, I guess you can call it old-fashioned beliefs and values. Like I appreciate when the person that I'm dating is a gentleman and sort of, you know, takes me out on dates and pays and spoils me here and there. And I do fantasize about one day being a stay-at-home wife. I'm kind of still on the fence whether or not I want kids. I feel like I'm leaning towards not wanting to have kids because everything is so expensive nowadays in our economy. I just feel like having kids but falling back on only one income is most likely not feasible in this day and age and going beyond in the future. So I'm kind of leaning towards not wanting to have kids, but it depends on, you know, whether or not I change my mind, and kind of just seeing where life takes me. But yeah, I'm not a very career-oriented person. I used to be when I was a kid growing up. My parents and my brothers are very driven people. They're very business-oriented, and so I always grew up in an environment that fostered that business mindset, that competitiveness. I don't know why I said compatibility. That's not a word. I grew up in an environment that fostered that competitiveness and sort of that hustle culture that we tend to glorify in society these days. And so I did whatever a good Asian Vietnamese kid did growing up in that environment. When your parents are these poor immigrants, you kind of do whatever you can to get by and to meet their expectations and standards of you. Like my parents always pushed education on me and my brothers. I feel like you know, Vietnamese people and like Asian people were very career oriented. We're very like education oriented. So I feel like my parents always pushed me and my brothers to do well in school, to get into a good college, to get good jobs and climb the corporate ladder, whatever stereotypes are out there for what it means to lead a successful life. Even though in my opinion, I think successful is a subjective definition and experience on a case-by-case basis. But for a capitalist society, success means being a productive employee in a huge corporation and paying your taxes and being an upstanding citizen and getting your education and your degrees and your credentials, all that stuff. that I personally don't really find to be that meaningful, but I'm gonna get into that later on in the video. But yeah, my parents, they wanted my brothers and I to have a life that they couldn't have in Vietnam. They both grew up in very poor families. They were both in poverty in Vietnam. And when they immigrated over here, they worked really hard to raise my brothers and I. And so my mom, you know, she sacrificed so much for our family. And my parents, they really sacrificed a lot just to get by, just to raise us here in America. And so they really wanted to see us make it, quote unquote, make it in life and have the lives that they wished they could have for themselves. So, you know, I did what my parents sort of wanted or expected of me. I got really good grades in school throughout my whole life. I got a really good scholarship. I went to a good college. I was able to save a lot of money for college, and I majored in business, and I got my MBA, or a master's in business administration, for those of you who don't know. So I did everything that my parents and my family expected of me. I lived my life as if it was just one huge checklist. Like I'm just checking off milestones one after another. And then now I'm here. You know, I have a very cushiony job that most people at my age would want. I have a completely remote job. I work in a life sciences consulting company. I get paid pretty decently for my age and for my lack of experience, because I'm still very young and I'm still sort of navigating my career. I'm the youngest at my company, so I'm pretty much a baby to all of them. But yeah, I have a job that I should be grateful for, because I know that it's the kind of job that most other people would want, especially at my age, especially since the job market sucks these days and it's so hard for people to be able to find a job in the first place, and high employment rates are skyrocketing, and everything is just so expensive these days that it's just really hard to get by. So I'm here and I should be happy, but I'm not. I feel completely unfulfilled. I feel like I'm constantly in fight or flight mode, constantly in survival mode, and my mental health has been at an all-time low for the past year now, maybe the past 2 years. But it's been very, very low for the past year. And I've done everything I can. You know, I've taken medicine for my mental health. I have been actively seeing a therapist for my mental health. But I feel like nothing is working, and I have a constant sort of emptiness inside of me that I don't know how to fix. And so that's kind of the reason why I started this YouTube channel, because I wanted to have a safe outlet for me to be able to voice these things and be completely vulnerable on camera for those of you watching. And it's kind of like a form of journaling for me, except instead of sitting down and journaling, I'm kind of just actively talking to the camera and like recording myself and putting it up there on the internet. Now that was just some background context on my emotions, what I've been feeling, what I've been thinking, sort of where I fall on in terms of my political views, which honestly doesn't really matter for the rest of this video critique, but I thought I would just provide that insight anyways, and sort of to give you more background context and my life story leading up to this point, so that I can get into the topic that I want to talk about. And so I feel like this video essay is gonna be kind of a critique on modern day feminism and just modern day in general. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a feminist. I do believe that all humans, doesn't matter what group you fall into, but I think all living beings deserve to have their freedom and their rights to live a fulfilled life that is aligned with their soul. I don't believe that we should be depriving living beings of their freedom and their beliefs and their fulfillment and happiness and their purpose. I believe that, it's a beautiful thing that we're all so different from each other, and we should cultivate sort of a celebratory mentality for the fact that we're all so different from each other. There's no one else in the world that's like you, that's like me. There's no carbon copies of each other. We are so individual, but also so similar to other people at the same time, but not in like a clone type of way, but just, we can relate to other humans on certain things. And that's such a beautiful human experience, to be able to come together as a community, bring our individual selves, our differences, but still be able to come together as a community to relate to one another, to help each other, to show compassion to each other, to celebrate each other and our differences. I think that is such a beautiful thing. So I don't want to make this video to bash any groups or any movements. I think, to each their own. I think, things happen for a reason, and also people should have the right to stand firm in their beliefs and to believe whatever they want to believe if it really brings them fulfillment. And if they're not hurting anyone and not hurting themselves, they should have the right to live their lives however they want to live. It doesn't matter what group that they fall into. Like for me, I am an Asian woman, so I fall into ethnically, I am still a minority compared to Caucasians, to white people in America. And even though women are generally more of the minority group compared to men, or especially white men, I still fall under an extra layer of a minority group compared to other white women. So there's different factions within different groups as well. So it's not black and white in terms of, who has privilege and who doesn't have privilege in society. It's a gray area. So I think there's certain levels of privileges that people have and that certain groups of people fall into. But that's how it is in the society that we as humans built for ourselves. But the reason why I wanted to sort of make this video critiquing modern feminism is I think women have kind of gone astray, and instead of supporting one another and banding together to fight for our rights, like how feminism has always been throughout history, I feel like women tend to weaponize feminism now as a way to be competitive with one another and to shame one another. And I just feel like women are so much more mean to each other nowadays. Like, we always find a reason to dislike each other over something. And I just feel like we've fallen so out of line with the whole feminism movement and what it stood for throughout history. And we've kind of blurred the lines of what it means to be a feminist. And so what I mean by that is as I was saying before, there's different layers or factions within different groups. So even though I'm a woman and I can relate to other women, my experiences as a first generation Vietnamese woman can still be different from a non-first generation cis straight white woman or Caucasian woman. Just like how for me, I'm also straight. My experiences can be different from a queer woman of color, like, you know, a Black woman or African American woman. And so there's so many different layers to society and to our identity that doesn't get addressed enough in feminism and in these types of movements, like in these types of civil rights movements. I think feminism nowadays just kind of brushes over all of that, and in my opinion, I feel like it's mostly the cis, straight, white women that get to benefit from modern day feminism, and that the rest of us are kind of left in the dust. I mean, that's kind of another topic that I could make a whole video on in of itself. That's not really the point of why I wanted to make this video. But the point that I'm trying to make for this video alone is that I feel like this whole modern day feminism is really breeding competition between women in terms of it's shaming women who don't want to partake in hustle culture. Like, I feel like nowadays, if you're a woman and you're not a CEO of your own company, or you're not some C-suite executive for some big company, then you're a failure. Like, I'm better than you because I'm a woman and I made it. You see that? I was able to climb the corporate ladder and become an executive at this Fortune 500 company, or I was able to create my own company because I'm an entrepreneur and now I'm a CEO of my own company. I'm a businesswoman, look at me, or whatever. Like, I feel like women always seem to have a chip on our shoulders, and we always feel like we have to prove something, not only to men, but also to each other. Like, I feel like it's fine to want to be proud of what you're doing in life and to want to consistently or continuously grow, but you shouldn't compare yourself and your own individual experiences and values to other people, to other women who don't have the same values as you in life. You know, your definition of success can be totally different from someone else's definition of success, despite you guys being within the same group or faction in society, you know? Like, for example, I feel like, you know, entrepreneurship is such a buzzword these days. Like being your own CEO as a woman, a corporate girl boss, like all those things. Those are all such trendy buzzwords in society nowadays that falls under feminism. But I really don't think that is feminism. I feel like that's kind of just, feminism is sort of weaponized and taken advantage of to make these people appear better to the public eye than they really care to, or they really, like, I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but I feel like a lot of, you know, female leaders or CEOs tend to use keywords like woman-led company or female-led company, or female CEO, female entrepreneur, businesswoman. Like, we tend to overuse these keywords to make ourselves appear better to the public eye, as if we actually care about female rights more than we actually do. like we're kind of just doing it to brand ourselves in a way that makes us feel like we're more successful than men or more successful than other women who aren't doing the same things as we are. But then there's also a certain type of competition between women who are doing the same thing as each other anyways. And I don't know, I feel like there's constant competition between us women, and we're not truly supporting each other anymore. And I don't want to blame excuse me, I don't want to blame women or just us. I'm a woman, obviously. I don't want to blame us as the reason for the fall of feminism. I want to blame this whole capitalist society that we live in. I mean, obviously, if you don't live in a capitalist first world country, then I know this video doesn't pertain to you, and I kind of just sound like a whiny woman on camera right now complaining, but I assure you I'm not trying to come off as being whiny or complaining. I recognize that I do have privileges in life. I'm very lucky and I'm very fortunate to live where I live and to have the experiences that I have had / currently have and / will have in the future. I'm very grateful for where I am in life and just for everything that I do have. And so I don't want to come across being a Debbie Downer or just feeling like I'm complaining or playing the victim card. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is I just want to preach that I believe people, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or, you know, non-binary. It doesn't matter if you're part of the queer community in any way or what religion you follow. It doesn't matter. I believe that every living being deserves to live a life that is fulfilling to them, that is joyous to them, and that they don't feel like they're constantly trapped in a never-ending rat race to keep up with other people and keep up with other people's version of success or version of happiness. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make in this video, because I know that I'm rambling a lot, is I feel that there's such a disconnect or a divide between women who may have more old-fashioned beliefs like I do, where, you know, I look forward to being a stay-at-home wife someday. Sorry, excuse me. I look forward to getting married, to, you know, having a husband and being able to take care of the house and to cook and bake and twirl around in the kitchen wearing a cute dress and an apron, and I guess living on some cottagecore farm in nature and really cultivating my feminine energy that I've lost throughout the years of just overworking myself and living in constant burnout all the time. So there's those type of women, and then there's the type that I was kind of referring to earlier, where it's like the corporate girl boss, CEO, entrepreneur baddies who don't need a man or don't need anyone to come in and save them. And I'm not saying that anyone should need people to come in and save you. I mean, I don't personally think it's healthy to do everything by yourself and to never accept help from anyone. I think as humans, we all could use a little support here and there, even if it's not from a romantic partner, even if it's just from family or friends, any platonic relationships out there that you have. I think it's healthy to be able to calm your nervous system and relax and accept help from those who are willing to give it to you. I really feel like this whole I'm an independent girl boss, I don't need a man type of mentality can be harmful, because I think the intent behind it is good, in terms of, yes, you should be able to pick yourself back up if something were to go wrong in your marriage, like if your partner, your spouse cheats on you, or divorces or breaks up with you, or they die, I don't know, they pass away unexpectedly. You should be able to have that prowessness to you to be able to pick yourself back up and not let yourself drown in all of the bad stuff that has happened. You should be able to survive on your own at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it's only you that has your back. It doesn't matter how much your family loves you, how much your friends love you, how much your partner loves you, it doesn't matter, but you should be able to love yourself through hardships. You should be able to be there for yourself. So I think the intent behind the whole "I don't need a man" mentality is well intended, but I also feel like there is a detriment effect to it, where women take it too far, where they're too independent, they don't want to accept help from everyone, they're always so stressed and burnt out in life, and they seem so unfulfilled, but they just want to keep pushing through because they want to be able to look good to other people in society and be successful, even though they may not feel like they're successful, and that they're just kind of performing for others. And that's kind of where I find myself to be at the moment. I feel like, I'm just always performing for the validation of other people. And what I admire about, the types of women who really stand firm in their beliefs, like the stay-at-home moms, the stay-at-home wives, we've branded these people as trad wives. And I understand that there is some toxicity in living like that as well, like, serving your spouse or serving your children. Like, first of all, you shouldn't really be seeing yourself as a servant to others. You can do things out of love, servitude out of love and care for others, and if it makes you happy, then go ahead and do it. But if you're gonna resent your spouse or your kids because you sacrificed so much for them, and they might not show that they appreciate it, then you shouldn't do that. You should just live for yourself. And what I'm saying is, I understand that there's like the whole trad wives versus independent girl boss factions in modern day feminism nowadays. And I just feel like, we shouldn't shame like either faction and think that either faction or group is better than the other. If you want to be a corporate baddie, some girl boss, entrepreneur, CEO type of person, go right ahead. But please don't shame a woman who wants to be a stay-at-home mom or dreams of just being a stay-at-home wife. Don't just brand her as, oh, she's just a trad wife, or she's just a trophy wife, or she's just a gold digger. Like, don't shame women for, wanting to live a life that isn't like you, that isn't like yours. Just because they want different things, that doesn't make them any less superior. But on the flip side, I think there's also a lot of hate coming from the other end of the spectrum, like the trad wives or whatever, the cottagecore girlies. I kind of tend to fall into this faction myself. Although, I don't know, I feel like I'm very right smack in the middle, because I am still working my corporate job. I despise it, but I do dream of being a stay-at-home partner someday, but that's later on in the future. I don't know. I feel like at the moment I do very much enjoy having my own income, and you know, it is what it is. I think I fall in the middle between the two divided groups. But on the other end of the spectrum, you know, there's also like those types of women that also shame the other group of women who want to go out and work and don't want to just depend on their husband's money and, you know, be at home serving their husband and kids. You know, kind of just going back to what I was saying, I don't think you should be living your life being a servant to others. You have so much more intrinsic value than to just see yourself as a servant to someone else. I think you should follow your passions and follow, you know, use your body and your intuition and your soul as a guiding compass for you to follow. If being a stay-at-home wife or mom brings you a sense of fulfillment, and that is where you get your value and your confidence as a person from, then go right ahead. Do it. Do what makes you happy. I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. And, you know, my partner and I have discussed these things together, and we do agree that, you know, that lifestyle suits us more. But if you're a woman who has intrinsic value through your line of work, you know, your job title or the amount of money you make, your income, or if you're like some CEO girl boss of your own business and company, like, and that's where you find your intrinsic value, then go ahead and do that and follow that path. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I feel like there's so much resentment and bitterness from both groups of women in modern day feminism, that are spewing hate to each other because neither groups agree with each other's lifestyles and values in life. And I don't know, I just feel like, why can't we just be happy for one another? I feel like in feminism, if you identify as a true feminist, you should be happy for your fellow female identifying human. And it shouldn't matter what they're doing with their life, you know, whether they're identifying as a trad wife or a stay-at-home wife or mom and they want to live off of their husband's income or their spouse's income. They should be able to do that without you completely disregarding that lifestyle and making them feel invalidated or less superior than you. But on the flip side, if you see a woman that's running her own company and she's the CEO, she's this corporate baddie, girl boss, whatever, you shouldn't feel jealous that she's out there making her own money and not depending on a man, like, to give it to her. Like, you should, you know, like, be happy for her and feel excited for her. And, you know, that should remind you that, you know, that's not something that I want, but if it was something that I wanted, I'm so happy that she did that, because it just shows that she's paving the way for other women like me to do those things if we choose to, if we wanted to. But if we don't want that lifestyle, then we shouldn't have to do it. You know, I feel like women, or just people, humans, all living things in general, no matter what group you fall into, should not be forced to do something or live a life that feels misaligned to who they are as a person. Like, we should just stop shaming one another just because we don't agree with their life choices or with their lifestyles. Like, for me, I, you know, kind of identify more as a trad wife. I mean, not really, like, I'm not a trad wife or anything. I can't cook to save my life, and I don't know how to sew my own clothes, and I don't live on a cottagecore farm or anything. But there's, you know, that's a type of lifestyle that really does call to me, that really does feel fulfilling to me. And I'm kind of, you know, I'm saving a lot of money to hopefully work towards living that lifestyle. But in turn, I don't want to, you know, shame other women for not wanting that lifestyle, and vice versa. I don't want those types of women who are like the independent girl bosses to shame me back for not wanting their lifestyle, to not want to live how they're living their lives. You know what I mean? I just feel like, you know, I am so burnt out, and I have been wanting to quit my job for so long. I have been in hustle mode, in survival mode, in fight or flight mode, pretty much throughout the majority of my whole life. And at this point, I just want to take a break. I just want to be able to quit my job, be unemployed for a little bit, to fully heal myself, fully heal my mental health and my body, because I feel like my physical health has been taking a huge toll due to my mental health and the stresses that I constantly get from my corporate job that I really despise. But I feel like the reason why I haven't quit my job yet is because I don't want to be a burden to my family, because, you know, as someone who's from an Asian Vietnamese household, I feel like I would kind of, I don't want to say be disowned, because I feel like that's too like extra, like that. I wouldn't be disowned personally, but I know my family would definitely be disappointed in me if I did just like up and leave my job with no backup plan. So I feel like I don't want to be a burden to my family. But another huge part of it is also, I just don't want other people, especially other women, to point their fingers at me and laugh. And I feel like it's sad that we currently live in a day and age where this is even a thought in my head right now, where this is an actual fear, that women have, you know, gone so far in life, in society, and they're all running their own businesses and companies, or they're all C-suite executives at huge corporations, that I have a fear of those types of women pointing at me and laughing, like I'm not as superior as they are, and that I'm making a stupid decision for leaving my job and quote unquote depending on a man to survive or whatever. But I feel like everyone's relationships are so different. You know, whatever works for one marriage or one relationship might not work for another marriage or relationship, and vice versa. And, you know, my partner and I, we get into fights all the time due to my chronic stress and anxiety and depression. And we've talked about our goals, our life goals, and our financial goals. And we've discussed that, you know, me being eventually a stay-at-home wife would suit us better as a couple, because I would be happier, I would be less stressed, and in turn he would be less stressed and he would be happier if I was happy, and vice versa. So I feel like it's always kind of, you know, a little bit of a paradox. If something feels misaligned or not working out for you, then you shouldn't be afraid to live your true purpose due to others pointing their fingers at you and laughing, or I don't know, just resenting you or judging you. I feel like there's just so much judgmentalness in the world. I don't know if that's a word, but everyone is just so mean, so rude, so judgmental to one another, and I'm kind of hesitant on posting this video because I don't know if I'm gonna get like an onslaught of hate comments of, you know, different people with different views in life. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to do. I guess they always tell me, you know, you should stop caring what other people think. You should just live your life. But like, how do I live my life and stop caring what others think when I've lived my whole life just performing for the validation of others? You know, whether it's performing for my family or the validation of my friends and their parents, or my family's friends, or just strangers, anyone. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to use any like real world examples of people that I do know in my life, because I'm scared that they're gonna stumble upon this video and feel like I'm pointing them out or calling them out. But I mean, I don't know, I guess like a little bit of an example is like my current partner's mom is very career oriented. She's a very ambitious, like, career driven woman, and I just don't want her to think that I am using her son's money or just a gold digger. Like, there's people like that exist, that I feel afraid of them like judging me and resenting me just because I want to live a different lifestyle that they do. So I'm kind of hoping that she never stumbles upon this video, or even if she does, I hope she never watches this video. I'm not calling her out or anything. Like, I'm not trying to like paint her out as like a negative person. That was just kind of like one example of like highlighting my own fear and my own negative self-talk and my own anxieties. Just, sort of from the perspective of other people that I know in my life. But yeah, anyways, I feel like I've been rambling on for so long at this point. I don't even know how long this video is going to be, but I don't really know how to end it. And I guess I just want to ask for advice from those of you out there. Like, what do I do? I want to live my life and not care what other people think, but I just feel like there is such a divide between different groups of people and between different types of morals and values in life and different lifestyles. So I want to be able to like quit my job and just, like depend on my husband's income or whatever. But I also feel like, there's a lot of people in my life that are going to shame me for doing that. And people are going to be like, oh, you should be more realistic. This is really stupid. Like, the economy is awful. Everything is so expensive. You can't just survive on one income. That's like a terrible idea. Or you're setting yourself up for failure. What if your husband leaves you or cheats on you or whatever? But I feel like I'm so tired of hearing the what ifs. What if he leaves you? What if this happens? What if I'm setting myself up for failure? Okay, but those are what ifs. I'm living my life now in the moment, and I am miserable. Like, I'm just point blank depressed and miserable and constantly in survival mode and just constantly dealing with chronic illnesses, that manifest physically due to my mental illnesses, mental health issues. And I'm just so sick of hearing the what ifs. I just want to live my life now in the moment and actually feel happy for once without the fear of other people judging me or resenting me. I just feel like us women, we tend to cultivate such intense competition and jealousy and envy towards one another, and I don't think that's true feminism, really. I think we should all just be able to support one another. We should all be able to band together and just be happy that we're all living our truths, living our purposes. We should live a life that feels aligned with our souls without the fear of being judged by others, especially without the fear of being judged by a fellow woman. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. Also, a side note, I've been seeing a therapist, and I feel like she kind of falls into the career-oriented group of women that I've been kind of referring to, where I literally cried during my therapy session with her this past Monday because she made me feel so much worse about myself. Like, I was kind of, just voicing to her my stresses with my job, and she just like kept poking holes in what I was saying, and she just was always so overly critical about everything that I said and everything that I felt, and she just kept invalidating my feelings. And this is coming from my therapist, so I literally had to like cancel my next appointment with her and request for a new therapist because the fact that she made me cry in our session just goes to show that is kind of a red flag in of itself, and definitely shows that she had different values than I did in life, where she, you know, it always felt like she was shaming me for wanting to be a stay-at-home partner or like a stay-at-home wife, and because she wasn't one. And so I feel like, and I don't want to see a therapist that only sides with me and has the exact same beliefs and morals and values as I do. I think, you know, a therapist should be able to balance walking that thin line of still validating you and seeing things from your perspective, but also being able to give you constructive feedback and help sort of steer you towards the right trajectory or the right direction in, you know, healing yourself and your mental health, and like accomplishing, you know, your life goals and stuff like that. But I feel like my current therapist was just, she kept poking holes in everything I was saying. She kept invalidating everything that I was feeling and all of my experiences. And it got to a point where I literally cried, not because I was having some breakthrough moment, but just because she made me feel like shit. So yeah, so I am requesting a new therapist, but that's kind of the experience that I had recently that sort of triggered this idea to create this video topic for you guys. And also I feel like I haven't really been that active on my channel, and I want to put way more effort into this channel and utilize it as almost a form of therapy itself for me, kind of like as my own safe emotional outlet that I can just pour my thoughts into, and my experiences, and hopefully I attract, you know, other people that feel the same way as I do or have similar experiences. But yeah, I think me having such a negative experience with my first therapist, and this is like the first time I've ever actually utilized a therapist. I spent my whole life never going to therapy sooner, and I just started therapy this past May. It's only been like, you know, like over a month, and or like 2 months or whatever, and I just feel like it made me feel worse about myself. And I think that's also really important, to be able to choose a therapist that has at least similar values to you, or someone who just remains neutral but can still understand things from your perspective without poking holes in whatever you're saying just to prove their point. And I feel like that's exactly what my therapist kept doing. So it was kind of like from that experience, that negative experience I had, that sort of fostered the energy for me to create this video, this topic, because I just really wanted to get it off my chest and, you know, out there for you guys to watch. But yeah, I'm just gonna end the video here, since I don't want to drag it on too much longer. But please, I'm begging you, don't comment any hate. The point of my channel is to hopefully try to be a safe outlet, not only for me, but for those of you who watch and stumble upon my channel. I just want this digital place to be, you know, a site for positiveness in the world. I don't want to attract negative energy or put out negative energy, because I do believe in karma and cosmic energy and here and there. I know that's all woo-woo, but I'm a very spiritual person. So I do believe in, like, you know, energetics and stuff like that. So I don't want this video to feel like I'm bashing any specific groups of people or any person or any lifestyle. I am just merely saying things that I've been personally thinking about and experiencing from as much of a non-biased standpoint as I can. I mean, I obviously do have certain biases here and there, but I try to remain as neutral as possible. So I don't want, the goal of this video is to not spew more hatred into the world or spew more resentment or bitterness. I'm just kind of saying things from a relatively neutral standpoint of what I've been experiencing and what I have been noticing is a trend in our modern day society. And I don't want my channel to be a center point for hate. So please don't leave any hate comments. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, please just click off the video. And there's a lot of creators out there that might make videos that feel more aligned to your values and your beliefs. So please, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, just click off. But if you do relate to what I'm saying or feel very heard and seen and understood, my goal is to, make you feel all those things. So please comment, positive things. I love reading comments from people. So if I was able to, or if you were able to relate to me in some shape or form in any way possible, please comment below. That would really make me happy. But if you didn't agree with anything that I said in this video, that's completely understandable. I'm not trying to preach to influence people to agree with me. I'm just kind of throwing these thoughts out into the void. But please don't leave any negative hate comments, because I just feel like there's already enough hatred in the world. So if you don't agree with what I'm saying, please just peacefully click off and call it a day. So that's kind of just an extra little tangent that I went on. But anyways, thank you so much for watching and for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you for watching and interacting with my channel. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic morning, noon, afternoon, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. And I can't wait to see you soon in my next video. Bye.